Hello, and welcome to another episode of Breadcast Gaming Talk. Racing games are not my typical type of game to play, as they usually are too hard for me. However, the Forza games are one series that I can count on because they let me change the difficulty. Now, I've not played a Forza game since I had Forza Motorsport 4 on the Xbox 360, but today I'm going to be talking about Forza Horizon 4. First, I'm going to be starting with the base game and then covering the expansions, and no, I'm not going to talk about the DLC car packs on their own because there's like 50 of them, which is just too many. Horizon 4 has a lot of things for one to do, and that is why I have so much fun playing this game. You can do dirt races, street races, cross-country races, and road races, and I really do appreciate the variety of on-road and off-road racing that you're able to do. However, and this isn't really something I would qualify as an issue with the game, it's that the only difference between a road race and street race is that the street races are at night and the road races are during the day. And that's it. They both take place on pavement. So there's also a variety in what kind of vehicles that can be used for races as well, even though most of the time it's up to the player and what they feel like driving. But sometimes, for example, a cross-country race will require a sport utility or a buggy or something. Now, of course, one of the best aspects of Horizon 4 to me is the open world aspect. You can literally just hop in whatever car you want and drive around and do any of the races or stories, or just drive around. You don't have to even do anything. Speaking of stories, there are story events in the game, and they are the weakest aspect of Horizon 4. The only story that I enjoyed was the stunt driver one, but I had grown bored of the other ones to the point that I didn't bother finishing them. I mean, they're so basic, and they're boring, and they're not even fun. Like, yeah, some of them you just drive around while someone's talking about the car you're driving, or whatever, just to get to the next cutscene. Most of them consist of just driving somewhere and or keeping the car over a certain miles per hour, and it's just boring, and it's not fun. It's a racing game. Just do races, that's all. The races in Horizon 4 are good fun, but the story stuff is just really boring and not fun at all, which is why I'm not going to finish the stories. There are, of course, a lot of cars in the game for one to buy, but if you buy the deluxe edition of the game like I did, you'll get about 100 cars right off the bat from all of the various DLC packs that Horizon 4 has. For me, there was a lot of DLC cars that I deleted because I didn't want them, or I just thought they were ugly cars. I really only bought like 5 or 6 cars because I didn't really need to buy any of the cars since I have DLC cars that I can just do what I did, which is sunk more of my credits into upgrading them. I've noticed that some vehicles actually perform better if you leave them stock or upgrade them like a little tiny bit. And this mostly applies to vehicles that are especially built for off-roading, namely the buggies. They get hard to control if they are upgraded fully. There are a few of the hypercars that I found hard to control, but it's just because they're too fast and powerful and want to slide all over the road. Now let's get into the expansions, and I will begin with the Speed Champions expansion because it's the one I like the most. The downside is that it's a little bit of a disappointment. Lego Valley is is pretty cool, but it's not all that great or too different from the main area of Great Britain. The only difference really is that you do a bunch of various races, and then to close out the expansion you do a story event that's based on people don't believe that Lego Valley is real, so you do these 9-chapter story event, and it doesn't really make any difference aside from giving you Lego pieces, which is the other difference about this expansion. In Lego Valley you have to build your house. You aren't just given, or you don't just buy a house. And to do so, you need Lego studs, pieces, and you get those by doing the various races and other various challenges. I didn't do them all because I didn't really care about getting the whole house. The final disappointment is that there's really only 5 LEGO Speed Champions cars based on actual Speed Champions sets. There's the Mini Cooper, the Bugatti Chiron, the McLaren Senna, the Ferrari F40, and the 1974 Porsche 911, and only 3 of those are basically given to the player. I have no idea how to get the rest because I didn't feel like trying. Honestly, once I finished that final story in this expansion, I moved on to the next one. To be honest though, LEGO Speed Champions expansion isn't bad, but it could have been a lot better, and I would love if they did another one in like Horizon 5, but used, the newer Speed Champion sets that are the 8-wide cars instead of the 6-wides. Final expansion is Fortune Island, and this is really a lot worse than Speed Champions. You have 2 things going on here. You have the Island Conqueror Challenge, which is just 10 rounds of doing the various types of races. And the other thing is that as you progress through that, you get hints to treasure chests containing 1 million credits per chest, but it's not that simple. The hint will usually mention having to do a specific challenge with a specific car, and once you do that, you'll get a picture that'll be the hint, and then you'll get an approximate location of the chest placed on your map, and then you get to go find it yourself. And let me tell you that finding some of these chests is a pain in the ass. At least it was for me, a person who hates puzzles and video games. Plus, usually the specific car I need for the challenge is one that I don't already have, which is kind of silly. Like, you have to go out and buy a car just for one of these challenges. Anyway, once you do all the races, you do 2 larger races that are like the 3 larger races in the base game, and then that expansion is pretty much over. Forza Horizon 4, it's got a good base game, an alright expansion with Speed Champions, and a not that very good expansion with Fortune Island. I got about 30 hours of the game total between everything, and I did have lots of fun playing the game and doing the races, and I never finished the story stuff except for the Speed Champions one because they're just not that interesting at all. Forza Horizon 4 is a good and a fun game. That's all I have to say. So if you like what you see and you hear, leave a like and feel free to subscribe, and if you want to add to the conversation, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for listening and goodbye.